momentarily. All right, Madam Secretary, we ready to rock and roll?
We are.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Hemminger. I'm the president of the NAACP Arlington branch. This is our September general membership meeting. The time is 6:33, and I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Before we get started, I'd like to just open up with a brief word of prayer. First, Vice President, would you mind leading us in a word of prayer this evening?
Certainly. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come together, and our goal is to come out on one accord for the benefit of the entire community and for the benefit of those who are challenged in this community. Thank you for the opportunity to come together. As we look forward to the future, please give us not only knowledge, but give us the ability to use that knowledge wisely. Give us wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you so much, First Vice President. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. We have President Michael Hemminger, who is present. First Vice President James Younger.
Present.
Second Vice President Laurel Langhorne.
Present.
Treasurer Adriana Spain.
Present.
I'm Secretary Wanda Younger, present. Assistant Secretary Kathleen McSweeney.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large Karen Nightingale. Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large Kellen Macbeth. Kellen Macbeth. Executive Committee at Large Nadia Conyers. Nadia Conyers. Communications Leah Matterall will not be with us tonight. Criminal Justice Heather Kelly will be on later this evening. Education Tia Alfred.
Present.
Environmental and Climate Justice Julius Spain is present.
Present.
Thank you. Health Tasia Iglesias. Tasia Iglesias. Political Action Jan Marie Pena is present. Religious Affairs Pastor Davis.
Present.
Religious Affairs Vice Chair Rosa Dunkley. Rosa Dunkley. Scholarship Adora Williams. Adora Williams, and that concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. All right, we have a really exciting program for you this evening. But before we jump into that, we do need to suspend the rules in order to adopt the agenda that the Executive Committee has adopted. National has established a very specific way for branches to conduct their meeting. Tonight, we'd like to do something a little different. We have a candidate forum in mind. So at this time, I'd like to seek a motion from the floor from any member seeking to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Thank you, past
I
president.
second it.
And Mr. Chair, who was that second? Was that you, Religious Affairs?
Yes, it was.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. All right, is there any further discussion on suspending the rules this evening? Well, all those members in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All who oppose have the same right. Are there any abstentions? The ayes have it. We're going to suspend the rules. We'll go ahead and move into the financial reports for June, July, and August. Madam Treasurer, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Secretary, would you mind sharing the document, the budgets? Thank you. So for the month of June, we have in our savings account for scholarships a beginning balance of $285,341.39. We transferred $100,000 to a new savings account that's going to be used only for scholarships. So that's the withdrawal that you see there for that account. And then for our checking account, we have a beginning balance of I'm sorry, $22,829.84, and an ending balance of $84,070.99. And that is the report for June. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Madam Treasurer. At this time, we're calling for any further discussion on the June financial report. All right, before we go ahead and seek a motion, just a point of clarity for our members. Tonight we'll be approving or reviewing, I should say, 3 financial reports for the months of June, July, and August. And the reason for that is there was an error from National, an accounting error that happened at the very end of June, and it wasn't reconciled until the beginning of July. And so that's the reason why we're reviewing 3 reports tonight. Is there a motion to adopt the treasurer's report as presented for June?
I move we adopt the treasurer's report as presented.
Thank you, Madam Assistant Secretary. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Was that you, second VP?
Yes.
Thank you. And this is your last opportunity to comment on the June financial report. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, will all those members in favor of adopting the June financial report as presented, please say aye.
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 All right, will all those members who oppose, please say nay. Any members abstaining? The June financial report is adopted as presented. Madam Treasurer.
Okay, thank you. And this is the July financial report. In our savings account, we have a beginning balance of $185,336.39. We made another transfer to the new savings account of $175,336.39, and that left a balance of $10,005. For our checking account, we have a beginning balance of $84,070.99, and ended with a balance of $83,776.47. I can't see the savings account. Okay, so for the savings account that we opened in June, and then we made another transfer. So we had a beginning balance of $100,000, and then ended with a balance of $275,336.39. And that is the report for July.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the July financial report? Are there any motions on the floor?
I move we accept the July report.
A second.
Thank you, Madam Assistant Secretary, and thank you, Past President and Mr. Chair. There's a motion on the floor to approve the July financial report as presented by the Treasurer. It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Will all those members in favor of approving the July financial report as presented by the Treasurer, would you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Will those members who oppose, please say nay? Any members abstaining? All right, thank you. The July financial report is adopted as presented. Madam Treasurer.
Thank you. And for the month of August, this is the financial report. For the savings account, we had a beginning balance of $10,005, and ended with a balance of $5,000. So this savings account that you see at the top is now our operating the branch's reserves account. So we will keep $5,000 there in reserves for the branch. we moved all the savings account, all the scholarships to the new savings account. So it's all separated now. So the second statement is for our checking account, and we had a beginning balance of $83,776.47, and ended with a balance of $77,237.56. For our savings account, which is now the scholarships account, we had a beginning balance of $275,336.39. And our ending balance is $247,322.04. And that is the August financial report.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Are there any questions, comments, concerns on the August financial report?
Question, Mr. President.
Who's
This is
seeking to be recognized?
Past President. Can you just scroll down just to note the payments that went out? I think there were $5,000 checks that went out to all the students to the respective universities, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can see it now. Thanks.
All right. Any further discussion, questions, comments, concerns on the August financial report? Would any member like to raise a motion?
I'll move that we accept the treasurer's report for August.
Thank you, Madam Assistant Secretary. There's a motion on the floor to approve the August financial report as presented by the treasurer. Is there a second?
I second it.
Who was that? I'm sorry, I couldn't tell.
Secretary.
Thank you. All right. So will all those members in favor of approving the August financial report as presented by the treasurer, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All those who oppose have the same right. Are there any abstentions? Okay, great. The August financial report has been approved as adopted. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for your efforts as always. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and keep us moving along. Next up, I just have a couple announcements. I'm going to start with some appointments. So these appointments have been confirmed by the executive committee. I'm sorry, I recommended to the executive committee, and the executive committee has appointed each of these members. The first is Wells Harrell to be the chair of our housing committee. And the second is past President Julius D. Spain to be the chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. So just wanted to make everyone aware of those appointments. Some of those folks have already been, acting in an acting capacity, but they have been officially appointed. So congratulations to both of you. We look forward to the good work that you will do. All right, I'm going to take just a moment of personal privilege. I'm going to share my screen. But before I do, I want to let you know that what I'm about to share, you're going to be one of the very first ones to see it. Tonight, we're going to be announcing sales for our Freedom Fund Banquet on October 14th. So if you haven't saved the date, October 14th at 6 p.m. At the Arlington campus of George Mason University. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Madam Secretary, would you just confirm that you can see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, great. So we have some exciting speakers to announce tonight. Our keynote speaker is going to be Simone Sanders. That name might sound familiar because she has her own show on MSNBC. She's an author, and she's also the former chief of staff to Vice President Kamala Harris. And then our MC for the evening will be the Honorable Joshua Cole, former state delegate, local pastor, and former president of the NAACP. All right, so I'm going to pull down my screen. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. This event will sell out just because of the speakers that we have this for the Freedom Fund Banquet. And so I'm going to play a video for you all. And while I play this video, I encourage you to buy your ticket now because we're going to announce it after tonight's meeting. And once those tickets are gone, they are gone. We do have limited seating. So Give me a moment. I'm going to try to pull that up. I have a couple of videos I want to share with you all, so just bear with me as I work through this technology. All right, let's see here. All right, Madam Secretary, help me out here. What do you see on your screen?
You're good, Mr. President. You just got to enable your sound on your end. The
Yes.
soundbar.
Okay,
2022
let me
commencement
do that.
speech.
Stop share. I appreciate you all bearing with me. I have multiple screens open, so I want to make sure I get that audio in there too. So here, share sound. Thank you, past president.
You're welcome.
All right, just confirming one more time, you all can see Simone Sanders on your screen.
Not on this one.
We see the agenda.
The agenda.
Okay, let me try one more time. I apologize. Share screen. Let's go here. Share sound. All right, third time's a charm, folks. What about now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Here we go.
So now more than ever, it matters who is in public office. It matters who is behind the scenes doing the work of the people. Because let me let you in on a little secret, okay? There are a lot of people in this business who are more concerned with building power for themselves than doing good with it. And many of those people, they are out there hoping and praying that those of us who have committed ourselves to the calling of public service will get tired and just give up. They want you to shut up. You know who they are, okay? They are the wealthy, the well-connected, those with privilege and power, and you know how they get down. They pit white people against black people, straight people against gay people, people born here against people who came as immigrants. They use hate to distract and divide us because so long as they can divide us, so long as they can make us think our interests are opposed, they can keep all the money and all the power to themselves. But I am here today with a message for those who have become comfortable, those who are addicted to hoarding power and influence. Enough is enough. Led by the class of 2022, there is an army of bold and brilliant change makers who are rising. A host of warriors leading from the heart who have answered the true call to public service. And y'all are in this thing for the long haul. Y'all know the road ahead won't be easy, and you know they won't be able to make it on your own. But because every single fight is worth it, together, you will reject the false choice of division that pits one group against another. You will fight for a better life for every American. You will declare that in America, every vote, everywhere, every single time matters. And I know that y'all are going to take on generations of structural racism in this country and build an economy that works for every last one of us. Why do I know this? Because it is not a choice, it is mandatory. And to the cynics and the naysayers out there, because they do exist, who think that service needs to look or sound or feel a certain way, well, I'm here to tell you, I am Simone D. Sanders. I'm a bald black girl from North Omaha, Nebraska, with a big mouth and even bigger dreams. And I say that the time for change is now.
All right, I wanted to share that video with you. That's going to be our MC for the Freedom Fund Banquet. I have one more quick video to show you from Josh Cole. I'm going to try to share this, so give me just one moment. All right, so let me try this one more time. Share screen. I'm going to share audio. And let's see here. All right, Madam Secretary or past president, could you let me know what you see on your screen?
We see the video, Delegate Joshua Cole.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Delegate Hall.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Dr. Farmer was born in Texas on January 12, 1920, and we were honored to host Dr. Farmer as his presence was in the sainted city of Fredericksburg as a professor at the University of Mary Washington well over 12 years. Dr. Farmer was known as one of the civil rights movement Big Four, along with Dr. Martin Luther King, Whitney Young, and Roy Wilkins. Now, maybe you never heard of his name, but I assure you, you have heard of his works. In 1942, he organized the nation's first civil rights sit-in in Chicago, founded the Congress of Racial Equity, known as CORE. In 1961, he organized the Freedom Rise to desegregate interstate bus travel, and during the Nixon presidency, he served as Assistant Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare. He was also a vice chairman of the Democratic Socialists of America. As we stand here today, we continue to carry his legacy for civil rights by fighting for voting rights, the equal treatment of all peoples, and the recognition and the contention that there are still racial inequities today. I leave you with this quote from Dr. Farmer: "Do not be complacent and accepting of everything you see and hear. I have spent my entire life using nonviolent tactics to question and challenge laws and attitudes in America which discriminate against racial minorities and women solely on the basis of the color of their skin and their gender." Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right, so I wanted to just share those quick videos with you, just to kind of give you a little flavor of what you can expect at that Freedom Fund banquet. We're going to have it at the Arlington campus of the George Mason University. We have an excellent, strong partnership with that university, but unfortunately, the seats will be very limited. So you got first dibs on sponsorships, tables, and tickets by following that link in the chat. And it's going to be an exceptional evening. There will be a VIP reception at the very beginning, and there will be a champagne mixer at the very end. So it's Arlington's largest civil rights and social justice event of the entire year. You don't want to miss it. We hope to see you there. So that's all I have for my announcements. At this time, I'd love to bring up the chair of our Political Action Committee, Jan Marie Pena. Hey, Jan Marie, how you doing, Madam Chair?
Doing well, Mr. President. How are you?
I'm doing good. All right. Before we get started, I just have to publicly recognize you for, all of the work that you and your committee have been doing. This committee, folks, has been working on this for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've been getting emails from the chair at all hours of the day. And so I know she's working around the clock. And they put a lot of effort together to produce an excellent forum tonight. So with that, Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the NAACP Arlington branch and our Political Action Committee, I'd like to welcome you to our Fall Candidate Forum. My name is Jan Marie Pena. I'm the chair of our Political Action Committee, and I'm really excited to help get us started tonight. So programs like the forum we are hosting tonight are vital to our civic engagement. We hope to have an informative conversation with the general election candidates that will allow you to leave the program engaged, informed, and better prepared to vote. As a reminder, the NAACP is a nonpartisan organization. As such, we do not make any endorsements, and we welcome candidates of all political parties. We are not advocating today. This program is really about engagement and education. So in the chat, I'm going to drop a link now that will direct you to more information on the upcoming general election. So you put that in now. And this link includes information on the candidates for each office, sample ballots, and information on how to vote. So for tonight's program, we invited all candidates who are running in contested races in the general election that represent Arlington to participate. So in the Virginia General Assembly, contested races in this year's general election include the 39th and 40th districts in the state Senate and the 3rd district in the House of Delegates. And then the race for the 2 open seats on our local county board is also contested. The race for our local school board was contested, but James Bell Reeves, who I believe will be appearing on the ballot, suspended his campaign in July. So the current school board candidate is running unopposed. So just to describe our format for tonight, we'll start with a discussion with our General Assembly candidates, followed by a discussion with our county board candidates. And during each discussion, we'll ask a series of questions that are important to the work we are doing in our branch, rotating who answers first each time. The chat will be disabled during the forum, but you can share any questions you have directly with the hosts. So now I'm so pleased to introduce our moderator for tonight, Sean Perryman. So Sean Perryman is the former president of the Fairfax County NAACP, and as the branch's youngest president in its history, he grew it to be the largest chapter in Virginia. He also previously ran for Virginia Lieutenant Governor in the 2021 Democratic primary. So Sean is an attorney who works in tech policy, advising on issues related to artificial intelligence and responsible development of technology. And prior to working in tech, he was a congressional investigator working as counsel on the House Oversight Committee under Congressman Elijah Cummings. Sean is really passionate about issues of fairness and equity and remains active in the community. And we are just so excited that he is moderating our event tonight. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Sean.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I'm honored to be here with the Arlington NAACP as the moderator tonight. Thank you all for having me. I got my passport stamped virtually from Fairfax County where I reside, but always happy to join my fellow NAACP people from Arlington. Really quickly, before we launch into the candidate, obviously you all heard the format and I want to get to the questions. Many of you have probably heard the news about Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton and not seeking re-election due to her diagnosis. This is me speaking, not so much the NAACP, but whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I think it really puts into focus why we're here this evening. These people are putting themselves up for public service. They care about their communities, regardless of what their party is, what they may have done before. They feel that they have been called to lead in some way. And we often do this and lose sight of some of the things like our health and our families and everything else. So I want to thank all the participants that are here this evening, not only for participating in the NAACP's forum, but for putting yourself forward into the public sphere to be criticized and also to put out your ideas, which are so important. So we thank you for that. As was said, I'm going to serve as the moderator. There have already been questions that have been written, and I am going to try to stick to those as closely as possible. Everyone will get those same questions. Where I will come in as moderator is to make sure, even though you all are very talented politicians, that you stick to the time frame, because we want to get to as many questions as possible. And where necessary, I will take my privilege in probing a little deeper, making sure we actually get answers to the questions. So I hope to keep everyone on task this evening. But with that, I hope to begin. And we're going to drop into the chat a link here where you can find your General Assembly district. And so that will happen. So with that, I'm going to give 1 minute per candidate to do an opening. So if you do the advanced math, it should take 6 minutes, we hope. And then with that, we'll come back to our first question for the evening. So I'll turn it over. And on my screen, I see Adam Ebbin first. So I'll let you go. Am I unmuting or there we go. Okay, got it. Thank you, Senator Ebbin, for participating this evening.
Thank you, Sean, and the Arlington NAACP for having this forum. I am Senator Adam Ebbin and appreciate it. I'm running for re-election in the new 39th district, which includes parts of Arlington in Pentagon City, Crystal City, Aurora Highlands, and parts of Arlington Ridge. We've made a lot of progress over the years together, but there's much more to do. We established an Arlington Public Defender Office, but we have to work harder to get better compensation for our public defenders. We passed legislation that decriminalized and then legalized cannabis, but we need to regulate it for sale. We banned pretextual stops and repealed the death penalty, and we passed gun safety laws. Unfortunately, though, for the last 2 years, the Senate Democrats have had to play defense. We've been blocking bills to undo criminal justice reforms. We're fighting Republican efforts to divert funds from public education to tax cuts for wealthy corporations and individuals, and we're defending voting rights against Republican attack, including efforts to repeal early voting in Virginia. My Republican opponent is silent on many of these issues important to Arlingtonians, including criminal justice reform, a woman's right to choose, and gun violence prevention. I ask for your vote to continue my service to the people of Arlington.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the next candidate. I won't give much editorial in between these. We'll just move to everyone's intro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Moshasha, and I am also running for Virginia Senate in District 39. I'm a proud lifelong Virginian. I've attended Virginia public schools, and I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University. My mother, Gwen Hickman, comes from generations of Americans and is also a resident and small business owner in Alexandria. And my father and fiance are immigrants that migrated to Virginia to pursue the American dream. I also have a background in emerging technologies, and I was recently working with Meta's policy team, engaging with congressional stakeholders, and realized there was a gap in knowledge on the quick rise of emerging technologies and the incredible impact it's going to have on our lives. So I thought I could add some value by coming in with a fresh, innovative approach to problem solving while ensuring we're setting our community up for a prosperous future and equipping ourselves and our children with the skills they need to prepare us for the jobs and skills of the future. Some of the issues I care about are education, again, equipping younger generation with the skills they need for the jobs of the future, and making sure our schools are centers of excellence and innovation for everyone, economic prosperity, and community engagement. I believe in the power of engagement where every voice is heard, valued, so we can address the critical issues facing our district and state together. Thank you.
Okay, we go to our next candidate.
Sean, am I next? Senator Favola?
Yeah, Senator Favola, we'll go to you next. Sorry, oh, I have, okay, I see the list here. I apologize. Senator Favola, you're up.
Is that okay? Thank you. Good evening, and good evening to all of you who are watching this. I'm Senator Barbara Favola, and I am running in the newly drawn 40th district. And that district actually is entirely contained within Arlington, with the exception of 5 precincts, which Senator Ebbin will represent going forward. With the exception of 5 precincts, I would hopefully be your state senator for the 4th term in come November 7th. I have focused pretty heavily on some prison reform because I chair the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee in the Senate. So for several years, I introduced bills to remove the death penalty for those with serious mental illness or seriously mentally ill at the time the crime was committed. Eventually, we abolished the death penalty, but I was proud to have taken such an early step down that road. I was very active in the credit sentencing bill. And of course, I have robustly funded diversion programs for our juveniles. I serve on the Commission on Youth, and I chaired that body and did a lot of work in alternatives to detention centers for our juveniles. And also, I'm proud to say that I, through funding and several years of trying, I did get mental health services available for every juvenile before sentencing occurs. So the health and welfare of our children has been a passion of mine. I also am—
Sorry, Senator, you're at time.
Okay, all right. I am looking forward to your questions, and hopefully we can get to other issues. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to Mr. Henshaw.
All right, thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, my name is David Henshaw, and I'm running for the 40th district here in Arlington. Since I'm a political outsider, I thought I would, and new to the Arlington scene, I thought I'd just give you a brief introduction. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. My faith is very important to me, and it actually drives me to what I think is a civic duty to serve others and serve our community. My family is also very important to me. I've been married for over 27 years to my wife, Christy. We have 2 girls, both went through the Arlington schools. Madeline's a senior at Pepperdine, and our daughter Morgan is a freshman at UVA. As for me, I graduated from the Air Force Academy with a degree in physics, and I served our country for over 24 years in the Air Force. I primarily flew the B-1 bomber, and I also served 2 tours at the Pentagon, and I retired in 2020 as a colonel. So now I'm a 777 pilot for a major airline flying out of Dulles. And I'm also a half-time defense contractor as well. So why am I running? Basically, I'm concerned with the direction that our state is going and Arlington is going, specifically with our schools, cost of living, and crime. And I believe the people of Arlington deserve a choice in the general election this November. So I look forward to your questions and our discussion. And once again, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Henshaw. With that, we will turn to Delegate Lopez. That's who I have next on our intro sheet.
Can you hear me okay? Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here tonight. I made a pledge 12 years ago that I would fight for our values. Over the years, I've been the patron, co-patron, or the chief co-patron of over 150 bills signed into law, addressing everything from the environment to small business, education, and criminal justice reform, to protecting immigrants, temporary assistance for needy families, and sensible gun violence prevention. I'm especially proud of my legislation that created in-state tuition for dreamers, brought back the project labor agreements, dedicated $800 million to help revitalize the Chesapeake Bay, and the modern-day practice of taking away driver's licenses for not paying court fees and fines, creating the gun-safe storage tax credit, ending the Charleston loophole for gun sales, and my bill that created the Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund that's provided housing for tens of thousands of families. As the House Majority Whip, I'm honored to have, among other things, increased teacher salaries, rolled back limitations on access to abortion, improved transit and transportation, banned the death penalty, created the first state voting rights act in the South, and expanded Medicaid and healthcare protections to 700,000 families. Simply put, I believe in fighting for a Virginia that lifts everyone up and leaves no one behind. I look forward to your questions this evening.
Okay, next up is Mr. Webb. I believe you're on mute still.
Yeah.
There you go.
How's that? Okay, good. How y'all doing in NAACP? I have a long history with NAACP. My daddy was president.
Mr. Webb, I'm not sure if it's just my end, but you're breaking up.
And you don't have anything to run on. So I got to talk about my record other ways. Inside the journey, I have sued on everything from the masks that do not work. We found this back in the Obama administration. They looked at these things and they used the same test that we used to rate the N95. I've sued about the vaccines. I actually sued about 4 churches, and 3 of them had decided that they're no longer going to try to get their people to take vaccines that were never approved by the FDA. This is what I do. I was a childhood protege to the attorney for Hurricane Carter, and Merrick Garland says I'm a litigation hobbyist. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I believe we've hit all our candidates. Do I have that right? Okay, and with that, we will move on to the question portion of the evening, which is obviously the portion that most people are here for. The first one is going to be on criminal justice. Obviously, with a history of racial inequities, we have seen disproportionate issue as far as the number of Black people being sent to jail or prison. And with that, this led to an overrepresentation of Black people in returning sentencing. Having a felony can block access to needs such as public benefits, housing, often pushing returning citizens back into the criminal justice system. For each candidate, we are asking, what policies would you propose to help returning citizens successfully reintegrate into our community? So again, what policies would you propose to help returning citizens reintegrate into our community? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds per candidate. With that, we are going to start in reverse order. So that means, Mr. Webb, you get to go first, followed by Delegate Lopez. Mr. Webb, you're on mute again.
There you go. I do not expect to be in Richmond in November, but I'll tell you what I'm doing now. I went to the best law school, the college that has the best law school. I've been working with Washington Lee University down in Shenandoah to see that we can try to put some teeth inside the Read the Law program, so we can take some kid, give them an apprenticeship. This way they don't have to worry about student loans and all that kind of stuff to go to law school. Give that guy a lawyer with connections. We also got a problem in terms of our courts. We have people that are being charged with felonies. They shouldn't even making their money. We have to disrupt that, and that's why to give people who actually know about people who are going through these problems to be their representation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate Lopez. Same question.
Restoration of rights. We need to actually have a constitutional amendment restoring the voting rights of felons once they've served their time. So my legislation to get rid of court fees and fines was a very, very small baby step, because you're not able to have a driver's license, you can't go to a job, you can't get to take your kids to school, you can't go to take them to daycare, and it makes it very hard to assimilate and get back into society. And so that was a baby step, but a very important step is restoration of voting rights. We need to make sure that the efforts that the governor is doing right now to roll back that the forward momentum we had under Governor McAuliffe and Governor Northam is not reversed. And so I think that the time is now. We have to make that happen. Second thing I want to do is I want to actually get rid of the embarrassment of the underfunding of education in Virginia. And the fact is that we should be embarrassed about how little we do in terms of education funding. When you have schools that are woefully underfunded, that have not just are not paying their teachers enough, but also have holes in the roof and can't keep the lights on in some parts of the Commonwealth of Virginia, that should be an embarrassment. And so when we're having folks come out of the prison system, they need to have the ability to have a robust education system that they can fall back on to help them reintegrate back into the community.
And Miss Moshasha, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Can you tell me how to pronounce it again?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so I do believe also that after a probationary period and after that period of time when people prove themselves to be good citizens, of course, I think we should allow them to restore rights that were taken away. That's the least that we can do for people that have learned their lesson. But we need to make sure that in doing that we're being responsible about reintegrating people back into society. We definitely need to do a better job of that. Make sure that they're receiving education and skills training even while they're in prison. So when they are released, they'll be ready to actually go after jobs and be qualified to do that instead of landing themselves back on the streets and assimilating themselves with criminal behavior again. So I think we as a society can do a better job of helping them rehabilitate and reintegrate into society. I work in virtual reality. I worked on a project that was actually helping to train people with both the incarcerated as well as through Pell Grants, train people for vocational training so they could be ready for these types of jobs and skills-based jobs when they re-enter the workforce. So I do care deeply about that.
Thank you. Senator Ebbin.
Thank you. I've been active in correctional reform during my time in the General Assembly, having visited Red Onion, Coffeywood, and other facilities. I've led the effort to end the private management of Lawrenceville Correctional Center. But I think one of the biggest things we need to do is put more money into job training and programming for people while they're incarcerated so they can have a promising future when they come out. I've been active on the restoration of rights constitutional amendment, which most Republicans in Richmond have blocked. And also I played a role in legalizing cannabis and expunging cannabis records.
Thank you, Senator Ebbin. Mr. Henshaw.
Okay, thank you. I agree with what Sophia Moshasha said there with restoration of voting rights. I think it needs to be done, but it needs to be done smartly. And so it is appropriate to have a waiting period. And that's probably a point of discussion on what that right amount is. I don't think it should be an immediate restoration, but I do agree with restoration. The other thing is we want to lower the recidivism rate. And so I think education, as mentioned, is a great way to do that. And we have too many people go to prison, release, and they're right back in. The rate is much too high. And so I think the way we do that is with reforms within the prisons to provide education. So when someone does get released back into the public, they have the best chance to be successful as possible. The other thing I'd mention, I was thankful to read on the NAACP website, that's the wrong word, but to educate myself on the 7 or 8 deaths, I guess, actually in the last 7 years of Black Americans in prison. And so I think we need transparency, we need accountability. So Democrats have controlled the county sheriff position for the last several decades. And so transparency, I think, is a huge piece of that. I'll just use the remaining of my time to kind of talk about the other end of that on the crime. Crime has been rising in Arlington. It was up 18% last year. It was up double digits the year before that. Person-to-person crime has been up double digits the last couple of years. We see it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Senator Favola.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Just a couple of points of reference here. Virginia has one of the lowest recidivism rates of any state in the entire country. So that's a point of fact. A part of it is because we've significantly improved our education programs, but we have to do more. And in terms of restoration of rights, there are only 4 states that don't have an automatic restoration of rights when an individual has done his time and is released. So that's important too. But what's really important is that we take away barriers to employment after an individual is released from jail or prison. And I'm proud to say this past General Assembly session, it's the first time we managed to get a barrier crime removal bill through. And the fact is that under my bill, individuals who trained as peer recovery specialists, which is really important. Oftentimes, those who are incarcerated committed crimes because of their substance use disorders. And, they were stealing or doing something to sort of feed that habit. They broke that habit. They became clean. They have a lot to offer. They went through the training to be a peer recovery specialist. And now it is the law that peer recovery specialist, if that person's done time in prison, the barrier crime is waived and they can be hired by providers who are in the mental health or substance use disorder space. So I think that's really important. I also think other safety net programs need to be available to those who are recently released, like access to SNAP and access to TANF, and support needs to be forthcoming for their families. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And the original question was on what policies would propose to help returning citizens successfully reintegrate into our community. All the candidates just sort of organically touched on restoration of rights, which is hugely important. But we had a separate question on restoration of rights. I want to just do, again, moderator's privilege, do a lightning round here. One of the questions that we had for a future that we can now skip over since you all touched on it was about the governor changing the state policy to eliminate automatic restoration rights and slowing that process, slowed the process for restoring the rights of returning citizens. So I want to know, just going around the horn, if you had the option, each candidate, yes or no, would you reinstate and strengthen automatic restoration rights for returning citizens? So let's just go around the horn, same order that we went before, which I believe was Major Webb, followed by Lopez, then Moshasha, Sophia, Moshasha, I think I got it. Mr. Henshaw, Ebbin, and then Favola. Yes or no to that question? So starting with you, Mr. Webb.
I'm going to kind of flip flop because I'm going to say that just like I don't want people getting convicted of felonies unjustifiably, I don't want people released unjustifiably. I want to have some kind of a process.
So is that a no?
That's both. Kind of.
Okay, that's a politician answer. Okay, Delegate Lopez, let's go to the next person. Yes or no, would you, if you had the option, vote to reinstate and strengthen automatic restoration rights for returning citizens?
Yes, the policy in place right now is a relic of the segregationist Berg machine and Jim Crow. It should be gone. The fact that Virginia is one of only 4 states that follows this policy is wrong.
Okay, I'm going to Miss Sophia. I don't want to butcher your name again. Go.
That's okay. I just think it depends on the severity of the crime. You can't blanket that statement with, to cover everything. But I don't think going to prison is someone necessarily showing that someone learned a lesson, right? So so I do believe that in restoration of rights, but I think we have to make sure that people are proving themselves as good as citizens. That's it.
So would it be fair to say no, but it depends on the circumstances?
Restoration of rights depends on the severity of the crime committed, and again, I will say again, just a probationary period just to make sure that they're on the right track. That's it.
Okay. Who was next? Let's see in my
I believe
list.
it was me, Sean.
Yep.
Yes, I support a streamlined process, and I've repeatedly supported that, and without any kind of qualifiers to cruelly hold people apart.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Henshaw.
No, I agree with Sophia.
Okay. Senator Favola.
Oh, I absolutely believe we should have a restoration of rights automatically, and I would advocate and have advocated for policies that make that the law in Virginia. We're going to have to change policymakers to make that a reality.
Okay, thank you. That was a pretty painless lightning round. I know you all can do yes or no's now. So we're going to try this again at some point later on. But for now, you still have your minute and a half for the next question. Obviously, we've seen this year, I think more so than others, a lot of the impact of climate change events such as flooding and excessive heat. How will you work to ensure that current and future environment and climate investments benefit communities of color? And for our audience, these communities are often more impacted by climate events. So asking again the candidates here, how will you work to ensure that current and future environment and climate investments benefit communities of color? And for this one, we are starting with, Senator Favola. I don't know if I got muted at the end there.
Thank you. Well, I supported and advocated for a bill that passed in 2021, I believe, which actually requires that our environmental policies moving forward be examined through the lens of racial equity. And I think that's important. So often communities of color were overlooked or ignored or simply taken advantage of when projects were thought about and roads were built and other environmental practices were not, let's just say, evenly dispersed in terms of benefits and negative impact. And I believe that we have come to a point in our history where we can acknowledge that, and we need to move forward with every project being evaluated in terms of a racial equity lens.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Henshaw.
Okay, well, I guess as far as on the premise of the question, I probably have a different view than many. I don't believe that climate change is an existential threat to our nation. In fact, the latest IPCC report from last year from the UN shows that at worst, if we do nothing, we'll have less than a 2-degree increase over the next 100 years. And even if we do absolutely everything we can to mitigate CO2, methane emissions, that is only going to be it's still going to be a 0.5 degree increase. So we're not really saving that much. So to me, it's costing us trillions and trillions of dollars to pursue policies that end up hurting the poorest in our society anyway. So energy is most important for, it's a higher percentage of income for the poor and the middle class. It's essentially a big tax on them. And so the policies that Senator Favola mentioned, the 2020 Clean Economy Act, mandating 100% electricity production from renewable sources by 2045 and 2050. The technology is simply not there to do that. The battery power, it's not wind and solar. We're gonna have to have fossil fuels. And to me, we're hurting the communities that need energy the most by pursuing those types of policies.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Henshaw. Delegate Lopez.
I'm the founder of the Virginia Environment Renewable Energy Caucus. I've worked on environmental policy in the Clinton White House and in the US Senate and at the national level with the Physicians for Social Responsibility, working on things like the Kyoto Protocol. I'm friends with a bunch of the folks that the gentleman just mentioned who are scientists representing the United States as part of the IPCC. And he just basically garbled what that means to have a 2% or a 1.5 degree increase in heat. We're talking about considerably more extreme weather events. We're talking about the change of climate for huge swaths of the globe. And what that means from an environmental perspective is catastrophic. It is a significant issue. To answer your question, Sean, I've put in for the last couple of years now a constitutional amendment that would make environmental justice a core aspect of the entire section on the environment and conservation in the Virginia Constitution. Because right now, you've got not just years, decades, but generations of abuse of Black and brown communities across the Commonwealth of Virginia and across the United States, where waste dumps, chemical dumps will be put near Hispanic and African-American communities, We've seen it in Virginia, we've seen it in the Mississippi Valley. And the fact is that it's offensive, it's wrong, it's not who Virginia should be. And so I will continue to fight to have environmental justice included in the Virginia Constitution so that litigation can move forward to address this effectively and these kinds of issues don't happen going forward. And please, if you take anything away from this, climate change is real and it needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Lopez. And before we go on, I just want to make it clear to folks, we have not asked you whether you think climate change is an existential threat or the severity of it. We're asking the investments, both current and future, that are going into the climate investments. How are you going to use those to benefit communities of color? I feel like both of you answered in different ways, but I want to make sure that the question is clear for the audience. Mr. Webb is next, I believe. Yes.
Well, okay, here we go. Education. Unfortunately, in Arlington Public Schools, 86% of the Black kids trying to get to Howard are failing at that. You can't talk about climate change if you don't know math and science. We have to do that. Right now, we are the 6th in the nation in terms of reading and mathematics learning loss. No, we don't even have school board candidates here tonight. What's going on here? This is what we need to be doing. I went to a college that, goodness gracious, only 2 kids in all of the senior class in Arlington Public School got into. I think that we should be getting more, especially if we're spending more than any other public school suburban district in this area. That's not happening. This is what you need to work on. If you want to work on your climate change, you need to learn about math and science. Thank you very much.
Okay, Senator Ebbin.
Yeah, I think we must stop the governor's and the Republicans' efforts to repeal the tax on corporate polluters, which is RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. The money for that has brought tens of millions of dollars for flooding mitigation and weatherization for both veterans and lower income Virginians to Arlington and Alexandria. We must support environmental justice initiatives that Delegate Lopez referred to, and it's important that we recognize that climate change is a big deal and that whether or not the temperature goes up 2 degrees or 3 degrees, we can't have what happened in Maui and other places happen around this country and not do anything about it.
Senator Ebbin, I just want to make sure I understand. So for the investment piece, you're looking at RGGI as the answer, and
RGGI has produced hundreds of millions of dollars, and a lot of that money goes to weatherization for veterans and lower income Virginians to make sure that things are more efficient. But I also support looking at things through an environmental justice lens so that no communities are targeted and suffer the impacts of climate change more than others.
All right, thank you, Senator Ebbin. Ms. Moshasha, I think I got it. I'm going to try.
Very good, thank you. I believe that our climate change policies need to be tailored to take into account the specific needs of different communities within our district. And to do that, we need a balanced approach that takes into consideration the different circumstances of our neighbors and ensures our climate change policies are designed to benefit all members of the community and not leaving any of our neighbors behind, and mitigate climate change on those who are most vulnerable. I am all for investing in clean, renewable energy, but it has to be a balanced approach because right now it is so expensive. And that is exactly why, from my understanding, that the governor put a halt on the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative because it's protecting taxpayers from the rising cost of living. And really what we want is reliable and affordable access to electricity and power, and that is just not happening now. So we just need a balanced approach to make sure that life is affordable. So that's all I can say about that. And then also in terms of like the funding, I mean, we want to, again, I will say, we want to make sure that life and power and electricity is affordable because that is vital to us as living beings. And I also want to make sure that the toxins that are contained within solar panels are disposed of appropriately, because as Mr. Lopez said, there are a lot of toxins in these solar panels. I did a lot of research on it, and we just need to make sure that we are going about this responsibly, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm all for investing in these solutions.
I see you, Delegate. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to rebut that. Just 10 seconds. That's it.
Yeah, I just to be very clear, I said absolutely nothing about toxins in solar panels. And in fact, addressing the solar and wind and increasing hydrokinetic are things we should be investing in the Commonwealth in ways that we simply haven't for generations.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next question just for the sake of time, but I do love that you guys are engaging. So the next question: postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, body dysmorphia. These are some of the long-lasting struggles for pregnant and postpartum parents of color. The question is, what plans do you have for improving accessibility to needed mental health services that are not currently covered by Medicaid? So again, what plans do you have for improving accessibility to needed mental health services that are not currently covered by Medicaid? And we are going to start backwards. So Sophia, we're going to start with you and then go to Senator Ebbin.
I think first and foremost, in order to live a prosperous life and be successful in all ways, in family, in work, in everything, and for our economy to survive and thrive, then everybody does need to be mentally healthy and happy. And that's the goal of what we're trying to achieve. So I personally believe that this does need to be invested in those that believe they need it, or those that maybe don't even know they need it. And I've seen a lot of people that have improved dramatically in their livelihood and in the relationships and families and everything else from just taking a step at actually trying. So I personally think that we should encourage people to actually go to get mental health fitness, I guess you would say, or at least be addressed in some way, just to see if everything, just check-ins to make sure everything is good. So I personally believe it's advantageous for everyone, not just people that are going through postpartum, but really everyone, especially in the times that we're in now.
Okay, we're going to Senator Ebbin next.
Thank you, Sean. I support mental health coverage and the money in the budget that we put for crisis centers for mental health, including like the one in Arlington. But we need to increase coverage and be diligent also for families that are trying to break the cycle of poverty. I support early pre-K education to see that children get an advantageous start so they can learn with their peers. And I don't know where my opponent was on mental health, on Medicaid expansion, but we covered a lot more in Virginia, got a lot more people coverage, and it's not cheap, but it's important.
Thank you so much. We are moving on to, where am I in this? Sorry, I lost my place. Mr. Henshaw.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and this is an issue that I think Governor Youngkin has addressed with this latest budget. The numbers I wrote down, $170 million went towards behavioral health. It's an important issue. It's unfortunately an issue, I think, exacerbated by COVID. That is, we're just, I think, slow as a society to respond to that with the needed healthcare. So I think it's the timing is good. It's appropriate with that funding. Someone mentioned the stabilization units, the crisis receiving centers, money going towards that. I think it's great. The mobile crisis teams. So just trying to ensure that there's access to those who need it and quickly. For more serious things, psychiatric help in hospitals and having those alternatives for people. And yeah, it's obviously an important issue. It's a difficult issue. And I think we're headed the right direction with this latest budget investment of $170 million.
Okay, next up we have Senator Favola.
Thank you. That's a great question. Well, for years, we've been working on really integrating mental health into the delivery of primary care. And that's where we can avoid the crisis intervention centers and the crisis stabilization centers. And I'm proud to say that the Democratic majority actually invested heavily in what we would call the Virginia Mental Health Access Project, which allows primary care practitioners to access mental health services right there when their client or when their patient is in the office. So they can pull up a psychiatrist or psychologist on Zoom, or they can connect in the office to another behavioral health specialist. We also are funding Step Up, which will at some point, we hope soon, will enable our community services boards to provide same-day access when an individual is suffering a crisis, and that's important. What we want to approach here is the fact that having a mental health episode is normal. It is something that can be treated. It is something that somebody should recognize and then try to internalize behavioral modifications in their day-to-day lives. We've also expanded coverage for our first-time moms under Medicaid. So that will get to some of the postpartum, but we've extended coverage for a year, and that's a very big deal. I appreciate the question. We have to do more. And I do want to say, I think Governor Youngkin, his emphasis on crisis intervention and crisis stabilization is also needed. That's another part of the spectrum. So the entire spectrum of mental health needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you so much. And so we are getting close to the end, but we still have time left, but we're going to focus, do a little bit of a focus on housing right now. So we'll have two questions. Yeah. Oh, did I skip someone? Sorry.
Yeah,
Lopez. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Webb and Lopez. I apologize.
It's okay. Sean, should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So yes, we need fully funded centers across the Commonwealth. But let's be very clear, 170 million in the bucket regarding where we need to be. What Governor Youngkin agreed to was nowhere near what House or Senate Democrats and experts and medical professionals wanted to actually address the issue. The staffing crisis in mental health is abhorrent, and I've supported salary increases for public health care workers and mental health professionals. I've also consistently supported increases in Medicaid reimbursements and bills and budget items to create mental health talent pipelines. There's still too much to be done, and there are studies that are underway to ensure mental health is being covered at parity with physical health. My office has also already had discussions on how our efforts have fallen short across the Commonwealth in the mental health space, and we're looking for ways to remedy that. But let's be very clear, $170 million seems like a lot of money, but when it comes to healthcare and mental health care, it's a drop in the bucket. And Governor Youngkin failed Virginia.
Mr. Webb.
Yes, right now, mental health is an important issue because Arlington Public Schools have admitted that they consistently fail to distinguish between cognitive impairment and cultural differences. As a result, 30% of our referrals to community mental health are coming from the Arlington Public School. Little Hispanic kids who we decided are crazy. Now they're on drugs, and also now at that delicate age, they're not going to get a clearance because we no longer give you a clearance if we think that you're cuckoo bonkers. That's it. Now, also the thing is that my dad back in 1983, we had Dr. Lou Sullivan and also Andy Young come over to our church is on the founders of the Morehouse School of Medicine because we don't have a lot of black doctors. During the pandemic, National Geographic said when blacks talk to, I've seen that inside conversations with people right here in diverse Arlington, Virginia. They don't think that look at the achievement gap. They're going to have that assumption that you're stupid. They're going to talk down to you. We need to get more black, more Hispanic doctors to have those conversations. So this way you can have a good treatment relationship and find out what's wrong with the person. I personally have bipolar disorder. Despite a debilitating depression, I beat 75% of the Army in the Army 10-miler and docketed 9 cases for 30 hours of the United States Supreme Court without a lawyer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And apologies again to the last two candidates for cutting in there. It's trying to manage here and also look at our timing and questions, so forgive me for that. But like I said, we are going to focus in on housing for these last two questions. I think we have time for about 2 more before going to the next set of candidates for the local races. But I wanted to ask, state law places limits on Arlington's ability to achieve its affordable housing goals. For example, when a developer contributes cash to the Affordable Housing Fund in order to build more homes, the maximum contribution that the county can get is only a fraction of the value that the developer actually gets. What legislation will you sponsor to give the county more tools to promote affordable housing? Again, I'll repeat it. What legislation will you sponsor to give the county more tools to promote affordable housing? I will go to Mr. Webb, who went last in that round, and then Delegate Lopez.
Well, I am not a big go to government to get your stuff guy. Never have been. My dad, he built affordable housing with his church. Now his church expands an entire city block and more. I believe that the best way to get people, just like we got them in our church, to have affordable housing is to put them into colleges so they get education and get good jobs. This way, suddenly that affordable housing is not an option for you because now you have a way to get that income. Right now here in Arlington, your public school kids, you have a 93% chance of getting into VCU. 40% of your kids are failing. 36 kids in goodness gracious, Wakefield High School tried to get into my school. 0 got in. I could get into Harvard when I was going to college. We only had 1 of 96 kids inside this town get into that. That's telling me that we need to put these kids in private schools, send them, give them vouchers, give them something other than what you got. Because right now you're putting them on a path to failure. They're going to need some kind of projects to help them in terms of housing.
Delegate Lopez.
So I'm very proud of the fact that in 2013, my legislation created the Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And we also worked with the Senate and the House to increase it from around $6.5 million in 2013 to $125 million in the last budget cycle. The fact is, though, that this budget is going to reduce that from where it's around $40 million or $50 million, $40 million in each year of the biennial budget. That is not enough. I put in a budget amendment to actually increase the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to $200 million in each year of the biennial budget because we need to be addressing this in the ways that other states have. Now, to answer your question in terms of what this means that we will be able to fund not just 1 out of every 7 projects in Northern Virginia and 1 out of every 3 in Southside and Southwest Virginia, but we'll finally be able to address real affordable housing that is safe, because right now we have people living in Virginia in double wide trailers with mold and leaky roofs, and there are children living there, and that's not affordable housing. And if people are living like that in Virginia today, that's unacceptable. To address some other things like the Serrano issue we had recently along Columbia Pike, we have to pass legislation on warranties of habitability. We have to be passing legislation on condemnation issues. We need to also, I think, be addressing some kind of better assistance for rental assistance and making it easier for communities to address local rental assistance and copy what Arlington has done and do those in more robust ways. I think we also need to be doing considerably more in terms of how we have oversight for some of these.
That is time.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Ebbin, I believe it's on you.
Okay, the question was what we're doing for affordable housing and what legislation I'll work with the county on. I would support repealing limitations on the county's ability to work with developers. I'm working with the county now on a tax credit for conversion of commercial housing, commercial real estate to residential for housing. We're fighting to increase funding, not just for the Housing Trust Fund that Delegate Lopez referred to, that's very important, but the livable home tax credit, the eviction reduction pilot program. And I worked with Senator Locke to pass legislation to create a statewide housing needs assessment, which will work with local governments to collect better data on housing needs. We'll use that data. We must use that data to develop a statewide housing plan to help us better coordinate and target our efforts. We know that the governor and the House Republicans have opposed increasing the Housing Trust Fund, which is a reason that we can't send more Republicans to Richmond.
Thank you very much. And next is sorry, it's I've lost my train of thought here. It's Senator it's not Senator Favola, it's actually
Ms. Moshasha is next.
Ms. Moshasha next, and then Senator Favola. Sorry about that.
No worries.
It's okay. Thank you. Accessible and affordable housing is the cornerstone of a thriving community, and I'm dedicated to finding a balanced approach to aligning housing development resources to fulfill this critical need while also preserving the quality of life for all residents. I think it is a great step in the right direction that Governor Youngkin recently granted over $93 million in March and another $52 million in August towards affordable and special needs housing. And I would like to get more targeted assistance in our particular district. I would like to support initiatives to rezone vacant office buildings into residential units. I think this is one of the tools that would help us tackle the affordability problem and also work with private developers to incentivize better housing options. But again, what I am really interested in and what Major Webb had alluded to is solving the core of the issue, is helping everyone rise up by promoting economic initiatives to create opportunities for individuals to afford quality housing so they don't have to live in the infested housing and the molding housing. Nobody should have to do that. And we should help them be able to afford good quality housing and provide that for them. I'll champion policies that promote economic growth, job creation, and wage growth to enable our residents to achieve greater financial stability that will have a long-term impact in their lives. Because I'm committed to long-term solutions that address the problems at its core.
Thank you, Senator Favola.
Thank you. It's a great question. I just want to note that the affordable units that are designated in Arlington County, 99% of them are clean, safe, inhabitable, and they fit into the community. Arlington has one of the best track records in the entire country of building affordable housing with partners, because we don't have a housing authority, but of creating affordable housing that is attractive as well as fits in with the neighborhood. So we're not running dilapidated housing here in the county. If issues come up, the county needs to have the tools to correct them right away. And I think we can work on that. In terms of creating affordable housing, you want to do two things. You want to be able to preserve the affordable housing you have. Some of that can be done through tax credits. And then the other part is really encouraging folks to build new housing. And one of the tools that, in fact, I just spoke with the NAACP housing team this morning. I'm wondering if we can create an incentive so projects that actually have affordable housing designated in them can maybe get an expedited review from the county. So perhaps there can be an incentive for developers to actually create more units on site rather than just contributing dollars to the trust fund, which is the way the code currently reads. That applies to Arlington County. They can do either or. They can build on site or contribute to the trust fund. And as you know, the contributions certainly don't go far enough in terms of actually creating more units. So it's an interesting dilemma, but one we have to work on because it's absolutely critical.
Thank you. Mr. Henshaw.
Yeah, so I think the biggest obstacle to affordable housing are zoning laws. And I think that's primarily a county issue. I know it's been kind of big lately in Arlington. But the bottom line is I don't think government needs to be involved. Government is not going to solve this problem by subsidizing or purchasing affordable housing for the residents. The free market will solve that. And I think, so zoning laws, we have an example with Houston, no zoning laws in Houston, and the market drives some of the most affordable housing, especially for a big city in the country. And you can compare that with other big cities in other locations, and it bears out. The data shows that that is the best way to provide affordable housing for people. The market will drive what is needed. So what can we do? What are our remedies from a state level? And it is, as Sophia mentioned, it's providing economic growth, allowing people to have more of their money. So lowering taxes, both individual and corporate income tax. Governor Youngkin just the last 2 years has returned $5 billion to the taxpayers. So that's going to make it easier. People will have more money. Everyone can see the problem with inflation. Inflation is up greater than wage growth. So people feel that in their wallets. When they go to the grocery store, prices are up over 27% since 2020. You see when you go to the gas station, go to the gas pump, and those are things that affect people every day, and they have less disposable income, less income to devote towards housing. So those are some of the remedies we can take on from the state level. And the county board, I think, should get rid of the zoning laws, and that will bring down the affordable housing. It'll promote, Senator Favola talked about incentives. Well, the best incentive is to remove the handcuffs from the developers and let them build the housing that is needed in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Henshaw. Appreciate it. And I am conscious of the time we have left. Both Senator Favola and Mr. Henshaw actually hit on a question that we have. So what we're going to do, I'm actually going to try to squeeze 2 questions in here. I will do lightning rounds. So you guys remember the lightning round? It's a yes or a no. I know you'll have to give me some context because you're politicians, but I'm going to try to keep you very close so we can get to another question. Like I said, this one is going to be related to housing. Both Senator Favola and Mr. Henshaw both touched on this, but according to a White House letter from 2021 titled Exclusionary Zoning, Its Effect on Racial Discrimination in the Housing Market, exclusionary zoning places restrictions on the types of homes that can be built in particular neighborhoods. Some common examples: minimum lot size requirement, minimum square footage requirements, prohibitions on multi-family homes, limits on the heights of buildings. The national NAACP bylaws actually direct all branches to oppose restrictive housing practices, whether public or private. So what I want to know from the candidates tonight, and again, this is your yes or no option, do you support removing exclusionary zoning laws in Arlington that have been used as a tool to discrimination? So we are going to do it in the order that, to the best I can remember. I believe Mr. Henshaw will be first, and then Senator Favola. The question: do you support removing exclusionary zoning laws in Arlington that have been used as a tool of discrimination?
Yes, I support that. And as I just said, I support removing all zoning regulations as well.
That was an easy one for you, Mr. Henshaw. I figured you would answer that. Senator Favola.
I would say we need a community conversation on this. I am not in favor of exclusionary zoning at all, but I do think neighbors have a right to articulate their view on how the community should be planned. And that's where I'm at. I think these are grassroots kinds of issues. They impact everybody. And I think there has to be a community conversation on it.
I don't know. Okay, before I go on, what sort of exclusionary zoning laws would you think were appropriate versus some that are inappropriate? Just top of mind. I don't think exclusionary, I'm not in favor of exclusionary zoning laws. I am in favor of doing community planning. So I don't know what that, I'm in favor of identifying where we should have tall buildings. I'm in favor of identifying mass transit routes where we should have perhaps more multifamily housing. I'm in favor of protecting our wetlands that are close to the Potomac. That's planning. So I oppose exclusionary zoning, but I am in favor of community planning. Okay. Ms. Moshasha, you're up next, and then you're followed by Senator Ebbin.
I actually agree full-heartedly with everything that Senator Favola said. I completely agree. I am not in favor of, and I hope nobody would be in favor of exclusionary zoning. But I do think that we should, with any growth, we need to keep in mind and prioritize our current residents and the quality of life that they came for, and work with our community and organizations like yours to understand what it means to grow and what we need to be cautious of when we do, because we have to prepare for demands and strains on infrastructure like transportation, schools, and public services. So we just need to plan based on sound economic principles to ensure that housing initiatives are sustainable in the long term and don't place an undue burden on taxpayers. So that's the only thing that I would make sure to caution about. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe Senator Ebbin is next.
Yes, is the answer to the question. Zoning should not be a detriment to people living in the community, and these conversations should be handled at the local level. I agree with Senator Favola's emphasis on planning, but not exclusionary zoning.
Okay, and I believe Delegate Lopez, and then followed by Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Did it? Okay, Mr. Webb.
I think he's on mute or having signal problems.
Oh, there we go. Good. Okay, this comes down to that division between what is de jure discrimination, what is de facto discrimination. Black people go to black church. Are they being segregated? Well, they're segregating themselves. This is kind of a choice thing. When the law comes in and says only black people can go to black church, then it becomes unlawful discrimination. And these are the things I think Senator Favola was right. We need to have that conversation, but we saw with the Washington Lee High School, we excluded a part of our community even in that discussion. We had what was essentially the old White Citizens Council deciding what was going to be the good name that we could have. We didn't really have a lot of black voices on that committee. I sued the school board about that, and the NAACP wasn't there. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we have time for one more lightning question. I want to thank Delegate Lopez for the succinct answer. For this lightning question, and again, these are questions submitted by the NAACP. Can you let's see, where are we at? Here we are. Someone mentioned earlier today the deaths in jails. We want to know, obviously, there have been several or more than an acceptable number of deaths in the Arlington jails, which are tragic. Would you support a DOJ investigation into those deaths? So we're going to go in reverse order, starting with Mr. Webb, followed by Delegate Lopez. Mr. Webb, you're on mute again.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it off mic. Okay. Unfortunately, deaths do occur in the incarceration context. I mean, there are processes to look at these kind of things. I think even greater is the fact that we had, goodness gracious, 73,000 Black people died from COVID-19 before the first year of pandemic. We were talking about a less than 5% secondary attack rate disease. That's your chance to get into Harvard. I just found out from DIA that they're trying to find out whether or not I was hired for a job.
Mr. Webb, this was the lightning round. This was the lightning round. Yes or no, would you support investigation by the DOJ into the deaths in the Arlington jails?
No.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Lopez.
You're on mute.
I've actually spoken to the sheriff and the previous sheriff about each of these issues in the past. I would be open to more transparency and more investigation.
A DOJ investigation? You're on mute.
I'd have to know what that would entail and get into the weeds on it before I said yes. But once I do a little bit more research, I'm perfectly willing to get back and give you a better answer and sell it to the NAACP.
Okay, so Arlington NAACP can hold you to that. Ms. Moshasha, we'll go with you, and then Senator Favola.
Yep, absolutely. It's essential to strike a balance between the need for accountability and protecting due process for all parties involved. And any oversight framework should be transparent, unbiased, and ensure fair treatment for everyone.
Thank you, Senator Favola.
I would like to see an analysis of our entire system. For this last death in our jails, it was very perplexing to me why this individual who was homeless and brought here by the airport authority security or airport authority police ended up in a jail and not in a shelter. And I think that we need to start looking at diversion programs, when they're used, how they should be used, and then how we treat individuals as soon as they come into the jail. What kind of evaluation do we give them? What kind of healthcare services? And then, of course, the transition programs that help offenders when they leave. So I would like an evaluation of the entire system.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I know I skipped Senator Ebbin. I'm going to get to you, but Senator Favola, before we move on from you, is that a yes or no to a DOJ investigation into the deaths in the jail?
If the investigation is broader than just the jail, my answer would be yes, but it has to be broader than just the jail.
Okay. Sorry about that, Senator Ebbin. I know it was your turn next, but everyone's getting the same question, so I don't think you've been harmed by that. Go ahead and answer the question.
I would support an investigation because I believe that anytime you have multiple deaths, getting more information is a good thing. I'm not saying that the investigation needs to be conducted by the Federal Department of Justice, but if that's who's going to conduct it, that's fine, if that's what the NAACP would like. What's probably more important is that when you called for the investigation, the Arlington NAACP, Senator Favola and I immediately went to the jail, met with the sheriff, and talked about the issues. I don't know that I have the expertise enough to solve the problem myself. So if it takes the Federal Department of Justice to do a conclusive report, that would be welcome on my part.
Thank you. Mr. Henshaw.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would elevate right to the DOJ, but probably the Attorney General might be the next step. Accountability, transparency, that's key. I think you have to look at each case on its own merit. And perhaps we are getting to the point where it does require some more scrutiny. And again, accountability for an elected county sheriff.
Okay, thank you so much. I really do appreciate all of your answers tonight and going through the questions. Of course, I'm sure the audience has many more questions for you, and we've put your websites in the chat, so hopefully they can reach out to you, and I'm sure you'll be on the trail able to speak to them. At this portion of the event, we're going to do 1 minute for a closing statement. We'd love to hear from you, how you're making Arlington more equitable, of course, concerns as it relates and policies as it relates to Black people who live and reside and pass through Arlington as well. So would love to hear that from you, but this will be your 1 minute for a close. And then for the audience, around 8:10, we're going to take about a 5-minute break before another set of candidates will come on for the county board. But thank you again for participating this evening. With that, I will start with Senator Ebbin for our closing statement.
Thank you, Sean. And thanks to the Arlington NAACP for hosting this forum. We've made a lot of progress over the years. We passed the biggest expansion in voting rights in generations. I was happy to be part of the Privileges and Elections Committee when that happened. We passed legislation, my legislation, that decriminalized and then legalized cannabis in Virginia. We created a public defender's office with my legislation when I was in the House, but I'm still fighting to increase the public defender's salaries. We banned pretextual stops and repealed the death penalty, and we passed critical gun safety laws. But now Glenn Youngkin and his fellow Republicans are trying to drag us backwards. Senate Republicans are trying to bring back pretextual stops, ban abortion, and repeal gun safety laws. And they are my opponent's strongest supporters and biggest donor. Unfortunately, she's not revealed her position on many of these issues, and her website has false claims of endorsements that don't exist, and disappointed in that. But let's send a message to Governor Youngkin and the Republicans across the country whose eyes are on Virginia that we won't go backwards. I've enjoyed serving the people of Arlington over the last 20 years, and I ask for your vote on November 7th to continue.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moshasha. It's up to you.
Yep, they're actually endorsements and pledges on my website, and I have taken them. Listen, everyone, I'm not a politician. I am just a proud citizen of this community with a track record of executing on complex projects and tasks. And I want to emphasize my shared commitments to fairness, transparency, and the well-being of our community. I will never be the one who thinks they know all the answers, because I alone am not representative of this community in its entirety. And I understand that it will take input and collaboration from everyone in all walks of life and all viewpoints to make our economy and society prosper. What I can guarantee is that I will always be available to listen and hear concerns, and I'm eager to figure out ways that we can help everyone in our community. And I welcome the opportunity to work together to find solutions to empower individuals, create economic opportunities, and improve access to affordable housing and education. I would be honored to represent you, and I hope to receive your support this election to get a fresh, non-biased approach to enriching the well-being of our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Favola.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this. I very much would like to return to the state Senate. This would be my 4th term. I believe I embody Arlington's values, and I effectively promote those values in Richmond. I have been a champion for our public schools. Just recently, when we received federal funding, I managed to get that funneled to every school system in the Commonwealth so they could upgrade their HVAC systems and also use renewable energy sources. I wanted our children to have a safe place when they returned from COVID. Also, I been a strong consumer advocate in the healthcare arena. I did pass a no surprise medical bill, which actually has become a national model. And this has been very helpful to many patients and families throughout Virginia, because medical debt is one of the most strangling debts people can suffer. I was successful in removing firearms from those who have actually been convicted of abusing a family or a household member. That was a big deal, but I managed to get that bill through. One of the few gun safety measures that passed in this recent session. I also have helped foster youth, because I know so many of us believe that our children need a chance, and every child needs that protection, and every child needs to have somebody who believes in them. So after several years, I got Virginia to participate in fostering
time
to help children who are in foster families through the age of 21. Thank you. I look forward to partnering with you. I respect the NAACP as a strong advocate and a strong partner. And I hope you return me to Richmond on November 7th. I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Henshaw.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you to the NAACP for hosting this event. It's always a great opportunity to share ideas and discuss things. I think it's great for the political discourse. So thanks for doing that. Again, I'm a political outsider. I'm running as a common sense conservative. I'm a Christian, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and just someone who cares about our community. And the reason I'm running is because I believe the people of Arlington deserve a choice in this next election in November, and I'm providing that choice. And here's the deal. I think the Democrats have failed our community with their extreme progressive policies. So if you think something we didn't talk about, unlimited abortion up to 40 weeks with no restrictions is not okay, and that a reasonable policy of restriction of abortion after 15 weeks is reasonable, then you can consider voting for me. If you're tired of inflation outpacing wages and you want relief from high taxes and spending, vote for Henshaw. If you think parents know what is best for their children's education, which I think is one of the most important topics, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to talk about, you want to return Virginia to one of the best educational places in the country, again, vote for me. And finally, if you're tired of double-digit increases in crime that we've experienced the last several years, vote for me and I'll help turn it around. Bottom line, it's time for a change. Even Democrats, majority of Democrats believe these policies have gone too far. My website is posted there, henshawforva.com. Please, I'd love to have discussion with you, and I'd love to have your vote here starting next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henshaw. Delegate Lopez.
Thank you to the members of the Arlington NAACP for being here this evening. Experience matters, leadership matters, results matter. I'm humbled by the support of so many elected officials and community leaders, including Senators Tim Kaine and Senator Mark Warner and Congressman Don Beyer. I'm also proud to be supported by numerous groups, including the Virginia Education Association, Planned Parenthood, the AFL-CIO, the Latino Victory Fund, Clean Virginia, Moms Demand Action, and the League of Conservation Voters. They understand, as I do, that politics is about improving people's lives and getting things done. 52% of the folks in the new 3rd district have a hard time meeting their daily needs, according to a recent study. It's also one of the most diverse districts in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. Now is the time that you need experience fighting for our citizens and our community every day. Going forward, we need to create more prosperity. We need to do it in a way where everybody wins. We need to invest in our infrastructure and in our workforce, and most of all, in our children. I pledge to continue fighting for better schools, transportation solutions, environmental safeguards, economic development, criminal justice reform, and our values of embracing diversity, tolerance, and compassion. My name is Alfonso Lopez. I'm running for the House of Delegates to help build a better future for my children, my family, and for you and your children. I ask for your support and vote on Election Day. Together, let's continue building a Virginia that lifts everyone up and leaves no one behind.
Thank you. Mr. Webb, you have the pleasure of closing us out for this portion of the evening. Mr. Webb, I think you're frozen. Okay, there you go.
Just like at Washington and Lee University, school that unfortunately none of your kids can get into. I was independent. I was we still there? Yep. I was an independent and I became the first black ever allowed in anybody's pocket. I can do what I want. Now, if you're a black, 90% of black means that David and Sophia are not Canadian. He said black people need to develop a strategy where one party doesn't write them off and one party doesn't take them for granted. If I got your vote 90% of the time, I don't have to do anything for you. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Well, that really says it all. Thanks everyone. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to encourage you all, take a stretch, take a little break, get some water. We will be back in 5 minutes with a different set of candidates. Thank you again for all the candidates that participated this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
We will return at around 8:17, I'd say, by my clock. All right, everyone, we're gonna start back up in just a second here. Just come on back to your seats. Okay, and I know the president has a bit of branch business, but we're going to save that to the end of this portion of the evening. All right, let's get started back up with the candidates for the county board race. Let me just get my notes ready here. Okay. I believe we should have all the candidates for the two open. Oh, yep, we had someone else sign on. There we go. We have all the candidates for the two open county board seats. We have Miss Audrey Clement, Miss Maureen Coffey, Miss Susan Cunningham, and Mr. Juan Carlos Fierro. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. You are the second slate of candidates we have seen, so appreciate you joining at this hour. And so we will start off with giving each of you 1 minute for an opening statement, and then we'll get into questions where each of you will have a minute and a half to answer specific issue area questions, and then 1 minute for a closing statement. And then we're going to rotate. I don't know if you saw the first part of the evening, but we'll rotate through the candidates one way, and then the person who went last, the last round, will go first, and we'll go the other way and do that for each. As I explained earlier, all these questions have been written in advance. My job is to play referee, both to make sure that you are staying on time, to probe a little bit deeper as I see fit. But for the most part, you will all get the same questions. So with that, I will give each of you 1 minute for opening statements, and we will start with Ms. Clement.
Thank you for inviting me to this forum. I'm Audrey Clement, the independent candidate for county board. As a 19-year Westover resident, longtime civic activist, past member of the Transportation Commission, former fellow of the Congressional Black Caucus, I am running because the county has pushed a 10-year average annual effective tax rate increase that is almost twice the rate of inflation. I also oppose the missing middle, or EHO, ordinance that the county rammed through earlier this year, upzoning residential neighborhoods throughout the county. Although missing middle proponents now acknowledge that it won't serve anyone earning less than area median income, they are labeling opponents as racists. If you object to the misleading hype about missing middle and the race baiting that goes with it, then vote for Clement, the independent, on November 7th. If elected, I pledge to seek immediate tax relief and a plan that actually promotes affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coffey.
Thank you. My name is Maureen. I'm one of the 2 Democratic nominees for county board this year. I'm a lifelong Northern Virginian, a union member, the former president of the Virginia Young Democrats, and I'm really excited to be amongst our candidates this year, really focused on how do we take our community from where we are today to where we can serve the needs of everyone. I think we have many shared values in this community, and that's really wonderful. Things like more affordable housing, more childcare, better education, that we all do agree on. I think what I saw as the upcoming need, how do we really take forward from where we are today to where we're living those values and where we have concrete services that provide access to the things that everyone in our community needs. And that's really what I would like to bring. As a public policy professional, I work on those issues every single day. I bring evidence-based practices in addition to real experience doing community engagement, bringing new voices into the conversation through the Young Democrats, through the Civic Federation, and through my professional work. And so that is the background and the perspective that I really would like to bring to the Arlington County Board, in addition to representing a slightly different perspective as a younger person, as a renter, which constitutes over half of our population and should have a voice on our board. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the candidates, please mute when other candidates are speaking so we can reduce the feedback. Ms. Cunningham, you are up next.
Sorry, Sean, were you calling on me or on Juan Carlos?
Ms. Cunningham, you're
sorry about that. got teenagers in the background here. Well, great. Well, I am Susan Cunningham, and I'm super honored to be with you all tonight, both as an NAACP lifetime member of this branch and as a candidate for Arlington County Board. Since our branch was founded back in 1940, and before that in our partnership with Falls Church, NAACP has played a really crucial role in our community in pushing us and helping us reach for the just and equitable society we aspire to build and to sustain. We still have a lot of work to do. The social justice work that you all are engaged in is urgent and ongoing, from the achievement gaps in our schools to the preventing deaths in our jails, to attacking life expectancy and economic security gaps across our community. I'm proud to be running for county board because I have exactly the experience that Arlington needs now. I'm an engineer and an executive. I'm a problem solver and a doer with a great deal of common sense and a passion for getting things done for this community. As a county board member, I'll focus on smart growth and planning, getting our young people reconnected, and transparent good government that gets it right most of the time. So I look forward to your questions and hope to earn your vote this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fierro, you're up next.
Thank you to the NAACP for organizing this event to discuss the concerns of our residents. My name is Juan Carlos Fierro. I am a husband, a father, a 26-year resident of Arlington, and a proud American. I am running for the Arlington County Board because I care about our community, and I believe voters deserve a choice in this election. The issues in this election cut across party lines, and if elected, I will be a voice for the tens of thousands of dissatisfied voters who are ignored and dismissed by the political establishment. For the last 25 years, I have learned to listen to my clients' needs, wants, and wishes as an entrepreneur and financial advisor to help them achieve their American dream. If you elect me to the county board, I will use the skills I develop in business to bring people together to identify solutions that keep Arlington safe and create pathways to prosperity and opportunity for those who call Arlington home. My positions on the important issues cut across party lines and unify Arlington voters. I support affordable housing solutions that preserve the character of our neighborhoods while creating pathways to home ownership for those who seek it. I support common sense data-driven solutions to the shocking increase in violent crimes and property crime across Arlington. I support transparency and accountability, a new Arlington way that truly engages our robust civic infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. And without further ado, we will launch right into the questions. We're going to start with you, Mr. Fierro, since you went last, but we will go through in reverse order. Well, actually, the order they have here. I'll just go in the order they have here, and then we'll start to reverse it. Mr. Fierro, and all the other candidates, you all receiving the same question. We recently had a death of another person of color while in custody at the Arlington Detention Facility. This marks the 8th death of a community member at the facility in 8 years. What will you do to ensure that this does not happen again? And what concrete actions will you take to increase accountability, transparency, and oversight of the Sheriff's Department, which is exempt from local oversight bodies such as the Community Oversight Board? And so we're starting with you, Mr. Fierro.
Thank you. I think that we have to be transparent. I think that with so many people dying in jail, there should be an investigation. I think that the DOJ can get involved. If the sheriff's office is not transparent with these things that affect our community, either our African American community or the Hispanic community, somebody else should get involved. I strongly believe that we can work towards finding out the reasons, and we need to know for sure what really happened happening with the people that have died.
Thank you. Ms. Clement, same question.
Well, one of the things that I would do to assure more transparency and accountability in the sheriff's office is to have a competitive two-party system. For example, one of the Democrats in the primary was James Herring. He himself was running for sheriff, but was employed by the Arlington and Washington, D.C. police departments. But he was given short shrift by the Arlington Democratic Committee. And this is very significant because this gentleman has a lot of experience on both sides of the river. And he would have been a voice, he would have been an alternative voice, somebody who to scrutinize the activities of the incumbent sheriff who is likely to be reelected and other members of the sheriff's department. So I would say that in order to get the level of accountability that we need in both the sheriff's office and other elective offices in the United States, we need a more competitive political system. And our minority community needs to get out of its head that somehow or other its interests are automatically best interest represented by the Democratic Party.
Ms. Coffey.
I think in terms of what I most urgently want to do is focusing on primary prevention. So many of these cases we do know are related to mental health issues, and criminalizing things like trespass that really are a symptom of a larger problem, of a systemic problem, is most concerning to me. Audrey, can you mute again? And I think that really focusing on primary prevention that keeps people out of jail when what they need is support and rehabilitation and medical care, and not to be put into a facility that is penalizing them. That's most important to me. In terms of how do we promote transparency and oversight, I think that we do need to have our police practices community advisory commission be able to look into the jail, not just into the police department. I think that we need to have more open conversations. I am certainly open to a DOJ investigation, but I think we know a lot about why this is happening, and it really does come back to who we criminalize, how we criminalize them, and the fact that we are not supporting people to be in the best place that they can be. And I'm glad that we've instated the most automatic response team, which is helping to take so many of these mental health crises out of the hands of police officers, but there's a lot more work we need to do on that as well.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cunningham.
I think it's a huge issue that we have had any deaths, much less 8 deaths in 8 years, and all of them people of color. There are a lot of issues at play here. Transparency is absolutely important. In this case, it's going to be transparency in the after action. We need to let the teams do their work and get the investigation done, and then look at what they find. But Ms. Walter-Georges and Mr. Thompson before her, similarly should not have been incarcerated for the very small offenses that they had been brought in for. If we had a system that was really preventing mental health crisis, or in the event of mental health crisis, having a safe landing spot for them. The jail is being basically our mental health hospital of last resort right now, and that's not what it's set up to be. I've had great conversations with our Commonwealth attorney, with our sheriff, with our public defender, and our police department about this and other issues, as well as our DHS team. And we're not the only ones in the world not getting it right, but we have to push ourselves. And I know NAACP has been a real close partner in continuing to push to make sure that we learn as quickly as we can, and we set up the diversion that really is what is needed, is what is economical, it's what is humane, in order to support every one of our neighbors, regardless of their circumstances.
Okay, thank you for that. And just a quick follow-up lightning round. We did this in the first round, but I want to make sure I get everyone's answer here. Ms. Coffey, you've already indicated that you would support this, but the NAACP has requested the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division to conduct a pattern or practices investigation surrounding the deaths of these individuals. Would you support that request for the DOJ to conduct a pattern or practices investigation into these deaths? Yes or no? Susan Cunningham first.
Yes, I'd say always, if you see something, say something, and DOJ will take it up if they feel it's worthwhile. So absolutely support the asking of it if there's a concern.
Okay, Ms. Coffey, you're a yes, is that right?
Yeah, I think that having someone who's able to look across the pattern of these 8 years and 8 deaths is important, and is probably something that people in Arlington County are a little bit too close to the problem to see what's going on.
Ms. Clement, are you a yes or no on that?
Yeah, yes. I also support investigation by the state attorney general.
Okay. Mr. Fierro, would you support that investigation?
I at the beginning I say yes, yes, I will support it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on, for economic development, growth from the move in of actors like Amazon is fueling displacement in Arlington, leading to increased evictions and homelessness in our community, especially among people of color. What are your ideas on how to manage growth in Arlington? And what policies will you put forth to put an end to evictions and homelessness in our community? I'm going to start first with Ms. Cunningham.
So I've been knee deep in a lot of those issues the last couple of years as a neighbor, but also as the interim leader at AHC, one of our largest affordable housing providers, and currently at Arlington Thrive, who is on the front lines providing eviction support, eviction relief, and rent relief support. It's a huge issue. It is a growing issue. It was growing before COVID, and then we stopped it through the investment that we did through COVID. But that was really just a pause, and now it's like the waves are coming again. So again, this is a systemic issue. It's not just about supply of housing. It's about quality jobs. It's about housing as a right. But what we need to do is make sure that all of the levers we have now are funded, and that the gaps between them are understood and filled in. So for instance, as you move up from 60% AMI to 61%, then you lose some ability to access some of the housing. And we have a lot of work to do there. So I'm absolutely committed to it. I've walked with families through each of those programs, and I know we have a lot more to do, particularly on preserving home ownership when there are families that do already own a home or in a place, helping them stay there and sustain that housing long term.
Thank you. Mr. Fierro, same question.
I have to agree with Susan. I mean, it is a huge issue that we need to take it. We need to find a solution from different angles. It's not only one solution, it's many solutions. We have to also increase the budget in reference to how we help people, how we can contribute. There's a lot of talks about the renters. Renters, they don't pay directly taxes to the county, but they pay indirectly taxes to the county. So we also have, and my team and I myself are putting together a plan where they will be able to get some relief, some kind of relief in reference to the high rents that they pay. And I am committing to this because we all need to live in a place where we like. Nowadays is not only a place where we live, but we work. Thank you.
Ms. Clement.
Yes. So one of the things that I would recommend if elected is greater transparency from the county on what it's doing with the affordable housing that it currently manages and invests in. For example, the county recently extended a $150 million loan to the buyer of Barcroft Apartments on Columbia Pike without divulging the actual purchase price of $425 million, or the fact that the assessed value of the dilapidated property was only $138 million at the time of sale. Yet the $5.5 million balance in the Columbia Pike Tax Increment Fund, which was originally dedicated for affordable housing, will now be dedicated to paying off the loan, making it off limits to other affordable housing ventures. Now, I would say that there's probably a direct correlation between the increase in evictions and the loss and the decreasing availability of affordable housing. And without the transparency that is needed to investigate how the county is actually spending its money, we're actually guaranteeing an increasing number of evictions, even though we pay lip service to affordable housing.
Thank you. Ms. Coffey.
Yeah, I think affordable housing and the housing system in general is probably one of the biggest issues that our community is facing at this point. We really do need a comprehensive plan that understands what our housing needs are, not just now, but 10, 15, 20 years into the future, and develops a project pipeline that meets those needs at every level, because affordability in housing isn't just people at 30% AMI or 60% AMI. At this point, housing affordability is becoming a critical issue for almost everyone across the income spectrum in Arlington. And a big part of that is just the level of competition, now introducing interest rates. We're seeing housing inaffordability levels that, you know, people haven't seen in generations, if ever. So we really do need to take a comprehensive approach, but that does mean building more housing, making sure that there is options, but making sure that that housing is built across different levels. We know from empirical studies that it's less expensive for the county to pay into the development of a dedicated affordable housing unit than it is to subsidize across 10 or 30 years to have something to pay the rent, essentially, to create an affordable unit. And so we need to take those best practices and be willing to make the upfront investments that we know are right for our community, that we know will solve these problems in the long term, even if it comes with a cost right now, because the human cost of evictions, of completely disrupting someone's life, the way that that impacts your employment, your mental health, everything that kind of cascades from there, it is worth us making those choices now and making sure that people have the stability and are meeting their needs today.
Thank you. And moving on to the next question. Obviously, mental health is a concern when it comes to students across the country, but the rise in youth overdoses resulted in the tragic death of an APS student earlier this year. There's also anxiety around gun violence affecting student mental health and their ability to focus in school. What will you do to improve safety for our students in and outside of schools? And what investments will you make to address the mental health and well-being of our students? Ms. Coffey, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think I'm probably the only one of this group of candidates that did the lockdown drills as a child, starting in elementary school. I remember how terrifying that is. And I know that we've had several gun scares in EPS schools in the last couple of years, and every single time it's terrifying. We unfortunately don't have any control over gun laws at the county level. But I think that there's a lot that we can do to support our students. One is making sure that we have open conversations and a willingness to listen to kids, just because what they're going through might not seem serious or critical to you as an adult with many, many other big things going on doesn't mean that it's not really serious to them. Having conversations that make kids feel valued, that make sure that they have an opportunity, no matter what that is, even if that's not a college education path, that they are successful in their own ways and that they are going to be wonderful contributing members of our society. That is so important. But also making sure that there's mental health professionals in schools, in the county. Right now, we are competing APS versus the county for the same pool of mental health professionals. We need to make sure that we're merging that process so that we're serving everyone in a more universal way. And we need to fund mental health. I think that is just kind of what it comes down to. It is expensive to get certified to be a mental health professional, and they are professional jobs, but we also have mental health issues in our mental health workforce because of the secondary trauma that they take on. And so we need to make sure that people have reasonable caseloads, are being paid livable wages that sustain them to stay in our community, and allow them to provide the best care possible for our children across age ranges.
Thank you. Ms. Cunningham, you are up next.
So absolutely, the safety of our kids, and I've got an 8th grader and an 11th grader in Arlington Public Schools right now. So they're all doing the lockdown drills right now. Last year, plenty of non-drills as well. And earlier in my career, I was in charge of security for public schools in Southeast DC, including during the sniper attack, including during a police chase that ended in our school. So the gun violence continues to grow for our kids post-COVID emergency, and after the Trump presidency and during the continued climate crisis. The anxiety levels for our kids are understandably through the roof. And fentanyl and other substance abuse is one way of trying to soothe that. And so that is a huge, huge cry and invitation to us as a community to make sure that we are working with our kids to make sure their voices are heard, that they know that they matter, that they're connected to our adults. That calls for increased coordination between our schools and county. We have always almost gotten it and never fully gotten it right. So I think that is an area that I remain deeply committed to. And then finally, accelerating our out of school time investments. There are places in the county we used to get this more right. We were at Green Valley Day yesterday, and down there at the YMCA, and yesteryear at Drew, and in less yester, but still yesteryear. We were doing more after school programming, and we've got to get back to that. Our kids need more engagement, they need job opportunities, and they need to just know that people care about them and are there to be with them.
Thank you. Mr. Fierro?
Like Susan, I have 3 kids. One is a senior, another one is a junior, and another one is a freshman in high school. We need more activities. We need to be able to fund those activities. One of the things that I did after school, and that's how I play basketball at George Mason, was to play sports. I play basketball. I was able to get a scholarship to go to school, and at that time it didn't sound like a big deal. But nowadays, with the school expenses and with taking loans and things like that, is a big deal. But the kids are our future, are the county's future and the country's future. So we will have to invest heavily on after school programs. Find the best teachers, find the best tutors, find the people that can guide them, and they can be better persons. Being able to connect, that they have somebody to connect after schools, because the parents are working, and I think that's very important. Just I am able to see this with my kids, to be able to connect, at what time they get back to school, from school, at what time, what are the things that they are doing after school. Just with a phone call is not enough, but is the beginning for the parents to be connected to their children. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Clement.
So I opposed the elimination of Arlington's school resource officers in 2021 as a per se instance of guilt by association. The fact that SROs elsewhere in the United States have abused their authority does not implicate the Arlington police. And even if it did, the solution is not to eliminate the only force that stands between Arlington school children and the next school massacre. The solution is to utilize the resources of newly hired equity and inclusion officers to provide sensitivity training to the county's SROs and to discipline those who do not comply with it, and definitely to put the SROs back in the schools. Now, to deal with the substance abuse crisis, I would attempt to educate the county board on the link between fentanyl abuse and the wide open borders, which are currently controlled by Latin American drug cartels. And I think Mr. Fierro can speak to the fact that a presidential candidate in his own native country, Ecuador, was recently assassinated by the drug cartel that currently controls his country's economy. So I think an education process is needed here, whereby our democratic elected officials are advised of the link between wide open borders and our school substance abuse crisis.
Hey, thank you for your response. We are running short on time, and I want to make sure we have time for closing and everything else. I'm going to attempt to do this. We did it in the last round. I want to get your perspective on this, a lightning round question, a yes or no, if at all possible. Let's see if we can get through this. According to a White House letter from 2021, exclusionary zoning, its effect on racial discrimination in the housing market, titled exclusionary zoning and its effect on racial discrimination in the housing market. Exclusionary zoning places restrictions on the types of homes that can be built in a particular neighborhood. Some common examples are minimum lot size requirements, minimum square footage requirements, prohibitions on multi-family homes. The national NAACP bylaws directs that all branches oppose restrictive housing practices, whether public or private. Do you support removing restrictive zoning laws in Arlington that have been used as a tool to discriminate? Yes or no? I'm going to start with you, Ms. Coffey, and then we'll go around the horn.
Yes, I started my career doing enforcement of the Fair Housing Act. We know that there are still disparate effects, disparate impacts, disparate treatment today, ongoing. So yes, I support it.
Mr. Fierro, we'll go to you next.
So my answer is it depends. It depends. You know, if it's discrimination, of course, I will not support that, because I am also have been discriminated. Not, you know, not in the sense of of housing, but in going for a promotion for a job and things of that nature, and that hurts and is bothersome, and I don't agree with any kind of discrimination.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Ms. Cunningham.
So I definitely would exercise caution in how quickly we are changing things, because I think we can have unintended consequences. So while I would not support new exclusionary zoning or that actively supports racial discrimination, I think we can inadvertently cause racial discrimination in how we undo past wrongs. And so I think we need to make sure we're supporting especially our historic African-American communities and homeownership. And it's a longer question than yes and no.
Ms. Clement.
Definitely oppose exclusionary zoning, particularly missing middle exclusionary zoning, which will inflate land values and real estate taxes, drive out existing minority residents, accelerate gentrification of Arlington neighborhoods, increase school overcrowding, and exacerbate flooding and tree loss. So yes, I agree with Ms. Cunningham that missing middle is a new form of de facto discrimination that will have drastic consequences on Arlington's minority communities and is already affecting the senior component of the minority community.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we're supposed to go to closing, but I wanted to, before we went any further, Mr. Fierro, did you want to respond to anything Ms. Clement had said in the previous round? It came to my attention that maybe.
Yes, what Mrs. Clement said is correct. You know, I am originally from Quito, Ecuador, and it happened in the month of August. But 2 or 3 weeks earlier than in July, I was there. I was in Quito, Ecuador, and basically I was going to attend a presentation by the candidate, but unfortunately it was canceled because of his health. So I don't know if it was canceled because of his health or it was canceled because they find out that something was going to happen. But I agree with Mrs. Clements.
All right, and I want to go around and thank you all for participating in this event. It's been interesting and informative, and I want to give everyone a moment to give their closing statements. Please, during your closing statements, of course, if you can, highlight or any specific actions we can count on from you as far as the Arlington NAACP for equitable treatment of Black people and people of color. And with that, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to speak to all of us. But I will start this off with 1 minute per candidate for a close, starting with Ms. Cunningham.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you all for sticking out this evening through 9 o'clock. I would like to pledge that I will continue to be a close partner with NAACP through this campaign, but also, if elected, to really lift up the voices of all of our residents to build the community that we mean to have. I am an APS parent. I am an experienced executive leader, both in the nonprofit sector in Arlington and more broadly in the region, and an experienced problem solver leading this community through tough times so that when we get things wrong or we turn upside down a bit, we come right side round. So I look forward to doing that. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you all this evening. I ask for each of you to consider using one of your votes for me on or before November 7th. Early voting starts Friday, and I think the website will be in the chat, susanforarlington.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fierro, you're next.
It has been a pleasure to be with you all here tonight. The choices before voters is clear. Support someone who will find solutions to the big problems we face, ask tough questions and demand accountability, or support another rubber stamp who will ignore or dismiss tens of thousands of voters to maintain the status quo. My common set positions on the issues cut across party lines and unite Arlingtonians on affordable housing, on reducing crime, and accountability and transparency. Arlington voters are united. Casting both of your votes for my Democratic opponents will result in the continuation of the political status quo. I am personally asking you to entrust one of your votes for the county board to me to help me give a voice to tens of thousands of Arlingtonians. If you have any questions, please visit my webpage, www.fierro.com. Thank you for being engaged in the civic process, and remember, in-person early voting starts September 22nd. I hope to earn your vote.
Ms. Clement.
If you think you need to vote Democrat because only Democrats win, think again. If you vote Democrat in this race, you lose, because the Democratic candidates either embrace the county's missing middle agenda or will be forced to go along with it once elected. If you think that missing middle will remedy racial inequities, think again. Missing middle will force existing minorities, homeowners out of their homes and make it even harder for others to qualify for a mortgage. It will have major negative impacts on Arlington neighborhoods. If elected, I will not push harmful housing policies that threaten Arlington's quality of life. I will promote proven alternative solutions to the housing crisis. If you are dissatisfied with done deals and broken promises, now is your opportunity. Vote Clement, independent, for County Board on November 7th, because County Board needs more than a rubber stamp.
Thank you. Ms. Coffey.
Thank you. I graduated from a Northern Virginia high school named after a Confederate general, and then went from there to Oberlin College because of its legacy of racial justice and activism. I think that we all need to acknowledge that it's not enough to be not racist, but we have to be actively anti-racist, and particularly with the significant chance that we're going to end up with an all-white county board. I want to recognize that as a white woman, we've been complicit in a lot of wrongs that have occurred in this community here in Arlington, but that I am a leader who is open to the conversation, who wants to be called in to have the hard talks about the reality of what's going on. And that will always be transparent, and will trust the voices of the people with lived experience to solve our problems. I genuinely believe that the people who are closest to the problems are the ones that will have the best solutions for our community. And that means engaging people, bringing new voices in, bringing in people who can tell us what they have gone through and how they would have fixed it if they had the power to do it in the moment. That is the type of leadership that I want to bring. I also have the experience of working on gender and racial justice in early childhood policy and across education policy in the federal policy landscape. And I think that one thing that we don't talk enough about is early childhood policy and access to childcare. We know that disproportionate outcomes in education begin before children make it to kindergarten. And that's something that Arlington County needs to invest in when childcare costs more than $25,000 a year here.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the candidates for participating and for all the audience members who stuck with us throughout the evening or even joined us for a portion of it. This is really what it's all about. This is civic engagement. I want to thank you all for joining us. And I want to thank the Arlington NAACP for allowing me to take part in this and moderate this discussion. It was really informative for me as well. So thank you all for your patience. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mike, President Hemminger, if he is on there. I don't know if, well, I guess you guys can control that. There we go. All right, so I'm handing this back to you. Like I said, I don't agree with everything that was said here this evening, but I feel it's my job as the moderator to just let people get their voices out, get their opinions heard, and for the audience to decide. But I want to thank them so much for participating and putting themselves out there as candidates. It's a brave thing to do, and we really do appreciate it. And with that, I'll turn it over.
All right, thank you so much, Past President. I think you did an excellent job. I was my phone was blowing up with how well of a job that you were doing. So many people from the community were just really thoroughly impressed with how you conducted yourself. You stayed very, very neutral. I am gonna just take a point of personal privilege as well to say I'm a little disappointed to see racism on full display tonight. I think you know who you were, you know what you said, even here at the NAACP. So Sean, you did an incredible job kind of leading us through that conversation, and you did it with dignity and grace, and you really teased out a lot of answers that I think our members needed to hear tonight. I want to take a couple other moments of just personal privilege, and then I have one order of business and we'll get you out of here. I believe we're going to turn on the chat, so if you want to express some gratitude to our Political Action Committee, as well as our moderator, Sean Perryman, I encourage you to do so as I just provide these closing remarks. One, I want to just talk briefly about the question that was asked multiple times. And for our audience, I'm going to repeat the question. The National NAACP bylaws direct that all branches oppose restrictive housing practices, whether public or private. Do you support removing exclusionary zoning laws in Arlington that have been used as a tool of discrimination? The answer is yes, folks. We have to oppose any and all forms of discrimination. So I'm a little disappointed to hear the variance in responses tonight. And then lastly, I want to talk just briefly about the jails. As we know, there's been 8 deaths in the last 8 years. All of them have been people of color. In 2020, Daryl Beckton passed away. We sent a letter to the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department regarding that death. Following that, we had a virtual meeting with the chief. We had a meeting with the Office of the Attorney General. Following that, we sent a letter to the Commonwealth's Attorney. After that, we met with the Attorney General. After that, we submitted a series of FOIA requests to the Police Department, to the Sheriff's Office. After that, we submitted several press releases. Following that, we had a press conference. Following that, we sent letters to every elected official that represents Arlington in any capacity via certified mail. After that, we sent a certified letter to the Department of Justice. After that, we met with the Virginia Board of Regional Jails and Prisons. After that, we asked DOJ again to investigate Arlington County for civil rights investigations. After that, we published an op-ed in the Washington Post. We've also met with so many other civil rights attorneys. And so when I say we have done all that we can do, we've done all that we can do, and we will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that these people get justice. So should DOJ open an independent investigation? Absolutely. The answer is yes. And so the last thing I'm going to say is we have our state convention coming up on October 27th through 29th. We have room for one more delegate. So I'm going to share my screen here. Madam Secretary, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. On October 27th through October 29th, we are having our state convention. Here are going to be some of the speakers that are going to be there. We have room for one more delegate, and we have room for 5 more alternates. So are there any members on tonight that would be interested in joining our branch and representing our branch at the state convention coming up in just a couple short weeks? Anyone. I can't really see if anyone's raising their hand, Madam Secretary. Feel free to drop it in the chat if you'd like. But again, we have room for one more and 5 delegates. You might not be able to come off mute because of the technical capabilities tonight, but feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have you. It's going to be an incredible convention. Their theme is the same theme as our Freedom Fund Banquet, Never Silence. So, Madam Secretary, are you seeing anyone with a hand up or questions?
I do not at this time.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. At this time, again, I'd like to thank all the candidates that came out tonight. I'd like to thank our Political Action Committee, and I'd like to thank Sean Perryman once again, just for a terrific job all around. We really appreciate it. With that, good night. More to come on the deaths in jail, and keep up the good fight, freedom fighters. Thank you.